You're listening to the Epic Stories podcast, presented by Earlham College. Here's your hosts, Tanaka and Carlton.
Welcome back to the Epic Stories podcast. My name is Carlton.
My name is Tanaka.
And today we're having something special. We have a bonus episode for you guys with the man, the myth, the legend, our executive producer,
Kalen Richmond.
Yeah, thank you, Kalen, for
joining us today.
Finally. So maybe to start it off, we want to discuss a little bit about the foundations and the evolution of the podcast overall. So my first question would be, when you first started actually sketching out what the podcast could be or what you wanted the podcast to be, what was the one element that you really felt like, I really need to get this right?
Well, I think the focus that I had was making sure that at the end of the day, we were giving the opportunity to students to tell their story, and essentially be a platform for them to do that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times people don't realize like how important it is to be able to tell your story. Like, not only just like as a personal thing of like really being able to like own, like, this is my story, this is what it's kind of owning it, you know. It's like it's also kind of a career development opportunity as well to be able to tell your story, because it's essentially kind of practice for your future, for applications, for or interviews for jobs, for grad school, medical school, whatever the case may be. Like any of those things, like, you know, those people running those interviews are going to be asking people, you know, who are you? What's kind of your deal? Where are you coming from? And I think it's a good foundation for people to be able to do that. Yeah. And so I wanted to make sure that was kind of the focus first and foremost, was allowing people the space to do that and build the skills to do that. And also just make sure that like we're taking advantage of all the cool things that students have done. Like, I think of the 20 whatever podcast episodes we've done, you know, there's been a lot of similarities with different students' paths, but for the most part, there's been a lot of variety of the different kinds of things that they've done. And I think it's just really cool to highlight those things and just focus on what kind of makes each person's story special, but also just the kind of the shared collective story of Earlham opportunities and what makes that special. So,
well, that's pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering, moving on, what one part of the podcast's DNA would you want to be kept the same as it keeps on evolving, from like how you envision it when it started and like where it's going right now?
Yes, I mean, we're kind of going to be moving into a new direction, as you're kind of mentioning, and that's why we're kind of doing this reflection piece. And you know, the focus is going to be a little bit more kind of senior thesis project, essentially. A big reflection for focus mostly on seniors to be able to continue doing this reflection piece, but in a little bit more of a structured way, with a little bit more kind of preparation and build up to it, and more opportunities for the student to really you know, not just kind of show up on the day and speak, but really have an intention behind what they're wanting to say. So we're going to be going in that direction. But I think for the most part, like, I think the core of it is still there, as far as you know, the purpose is building those skills to be able to talk about yourself, talk about your story, highlight the things that you've done, the unique opportunities that you've been able to take advantage of at Earlham. And I think that's the most important thing that we don't lose. And I think as far as kind of the format, there's kind of two ideas of, you know, is it better to have someone just kind of take the mic and speak and kind of do it more of like a kind of a scripted story? Or is it better for someone to kind of continue doing this interview session, but with more of kind of a preparation behind it? And so, you know, we'll see where that goes. I think I would lean towards, you know, maybe more of an interview, kind of collaborative discussion based. I think it's a little bit more engaging for the audience to have that that part of the DNA, as you said. And so I think, but at the end of the day, I think as long as it's still focused on giving students the opportunity to to tell their story, and just, build the skills that they're going to need in their future careers. I think that's the most important thing.
So does it mean it's going, like, I know you already mentioned this, but then is it only going to be focusing on seniors? And then so if let's say I'm a junior or I'm sophomore, how can I also like get involved with the podcast?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for the most part, as far as the people that are telling the story, it's going to be focused on seniors, maybe some juniors at the end of their junior year, but the focus is kind of a reflection on everything that they've done and kind of capping off, essentially treating it as like a senior capstone kind of project, kind of building to this moment where now they're discussing everything that they've done as part of their epic journey. But as far as like other people getting involved, there's going to be, we've been putting out around 7 or 8 episodes every couple semesters, right, over the past 2 years that we've been doing this. And so there's going to be need for students like you all who, you guys are finishing up your sophomore year. There's going to be need for more students like you to come in and continue doing the work that you've been doing, whether it's actually sitting on the podcast and working with the person that's telling their story, or helping us recruit people to be a part of it, helping those students kind of develop their plan for what they want to talk about, the promotion of the podcast, something that we've done. We have a senior graduating who's running our sound tonight. Like the promotion of everything is a big part of it, and there's a lot that goes into that. And then obviously editing the episodes. So there's going to be a lot of room for kind of new people to come in and be a part of all of that, and hopefully some expanded and more roles to build it up even more. And we'd love to. We release, like I said, around 7 or 8 episodes a semester, and usually have some breaks here and there. But hopefully, we'll be building up an even bigger library, because honestly, it'd be great if nearly every student that goes to Earlham and takes advantage of all the aspects of the epic journey, if every student went through it, that's, however many seniors each year that we have that could be doing one of these projects. And so potentially room for a lot of cool ways to get involved with that and be a part of other people's stories. So.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting idea to think about, like how we could actually scale this up to have almost every senior to actually be able to come on and tell us about their story. That could be a really, really cool thing.
Yeah, actually, when we are still on this foundational part of the podcast, so when you started the podcast, was your main aim or a target audience LM students, or also people who don't go to LM? Is there like a way you try to make them engaged, or like how do you go about that?
Yeah, I think my intention from the start was as a promotional piece for kind of students in-house, fellow students, to learn more about the opportunities that are available to them, because there's a lot of students that kind of come here, and obviously they do great things and they succeed through their classes and stuff, and they might do an internship or volunteer opportunity here and there, but for the most part they don't know kind of the entire package that there is when it comes to the epic journey. And so my original intention was to build a platform for people to learn and learn from their peers of all those different opportunities and why they're important, why they're exciting for their future careers and stuff, and ultimately kind of sets those students up to succeed at a higher rate than a lot of other graduates, whether here or at other colleges or universities in the United States or elsewhere. And so that's kind of the intention of it to begin with. But then as we continue to do it and as we continue to promote it, the more I realized, there's some really cool things happening here that we should be telling a wider audience about, right? And so that's where we started to do a little bit more of a promotion on, this is Earlham. This is not just the epic journey for Earlham students. This is the epic journey for everybody to come potentially be a part of as a prospective student. And we saw that with, when we do our just simple promotion and clips that we'd put out on social media, we'd see that most of the audience that was actually seeing that stuff was actually not people that followed our page on Instagram. It was mostly people that didn't follow our page. And, obviously some of those people might be Earlham students that are seeing it, but I would wager that most of those people don't even know what Earlham is, right? And so this is kind of their first glimpse into the Earlham experience. And what better way than by having students that have already been there and done that have the opportunity to talk about that. And so that's kind of how that has evolved. So
Thank you for that.
And I'm thinking now moving into kind of segueing into the specific student kind of experience. You've been obviously producing, and you've been sitting on the other end of the camera as we record, and based on what you've heard and what you've learned, what has been like your takeaway about the student experience?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, like I think when I started the podcast, you know, I had only been at Earlham. Shoot, I don't know if I had even been here 6 months when we first started recording. Maybe it was around the 6-month mark.
All right.
And so, even though I was, you know, wanting to bring students on to help tell other students about the opportunities, I was also learning a lot about the opportunities themselves. Like, I wasn't super familiar with a lot of the stuff that students had available to them. And so I think, like, one of the first things that I noticed, like, right away when we first recorded the very first season, was just like how amazing some of the stuff that the students had done was. Like the projects that they had done, stuff, you know, projects with their like Epic Advantage that went all over the world, benefiting people and working to improve communities. Like, that was kind of the first thing that I realized, like, wow, there's some really cool things happening here that like, if I think just back to when I was in college, you know, 5, 6, and then back to my freshman years ago, you know, I didn't know if there were students doing that kind of stuff at my school that I went to. But if I was aware of those things, like, man, that's really cool. And it's something to be proud of too, I think. And so I think that's the first thing that I noticed, is just how cool it was, the stuff that people were doing, and how exciting it was to be able to put that out there, for people to learn about. So,
So I'm just wondering, from just being part of these different student experiences, how do you think that has shaped your sense of purpose as you prepare for your next chapter after being the producer of our podcast?
So I am leaving Earlham this summer. I am moving.
Oh no!
Obviously, these guys know that, but I guess as far as shaping where I'm headed next, you know, I think it's taught me a lot of, you know, like, obviously we've shaped this podcast in a way for students to talk about their experience and their skills, especially in the development that they've had in that area. But I think I myself have gained a lot of skills when it comes to, you know, working on this podcast. I think, like, I've gained a lot of skills supervising you all and guiding you all through, you know, all of the pieces that go into it. And I've learned more about kind of project management through that, and all of the different pieces of, you know, I mean, it starts with our recruiting, and then our plans for what we actually want to say on the podcast, and then actually facilitating it like you guys do, and then the editing, and then the promotion, and everything that goes into it. Like, there's a lot of moving parts, and I think I've got better and learned more skills about how to manage all that and make sure everyone is kind of clicking like gears, like all the gears are moving together. And so I hope to take that, you know, all those things that I've learned through that into my next roles, you know, in my future. And I think just I've learned also just that I really enjoy storytelling. I think I've always known that I love storytelling, but I think for the most part, like, being able to tell stories in like a real creative way, in a career focused way, are things that I'm kind of excited to hopefully continue doing in the future. And so, yeah, I think those are the most, the biggest things that I've learned about kind of myself through this. So
I hope we didn't make your time too difficult when you're working with us.
No, not at all. I enjoyed it.
Though I think I would like to add how actually helpful it has been having you kind of lead us and be able to work on this, and you've given us like a lot of space to be able to try things out and figure things out for ourselves, and then being able to then come to you for questions and stuff like that. So I think it definitely it's gonna be very different, maybe a bit more difficult, continuing to evolve this without you here. So I think I'm trying to say that we really appreciate having worked with you for this time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great working with all three of you, and the folks that we had before you guys too. And it's been, I've really enjoyed getting to work. I mean, I really enjoy getting to help people, continue to learn more skills and learn more about themselves and all those kinds of things. So, I think you guys have been great, a great team to work with and I guess supervise, if we want to use that word. But so yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank
Because
you.
I actually remember the first time when we did our first podcast. I think I can say this for myself. I wasn't even sure if I can be a podcast host, but then you helped me out throughout the journey. So that has been nice.
And hopefully you guys have not just enjoyed being around and the fun stuff, but also just enjoyed getting to learn more about it. And I don't, who knows if when you graduate college, if you'll ever do a podcast again, but I think it's skills that you, can use regardless as far as, conversational stuff and relational stuff. Building rapport with people, I think is super important for your futures and as you, move forward into your careers in a few years. So.
So,
definitely.
So for this last section of the podcast, for this episode, we want to call it the closing rapid fire. So we will be just asking you some, a couple of questions, and feel free to be honest or to just, So do you want to ask him the first question?
So the first question would be, who's your favorite guest that we've had on the podcast?
Oh gosh.
Disclaimer: no bias.
Oh gosh, that's hard. I think the first name that comes to my head is Yaya. I think that was one of our best episodes. I think you guys already had a good rapport with him, and obviously you guys are friends with him, and I think that helped the conversation out a lot, and made it exciting in that way. But I think also the stuff he talked about was really cool. All of the different trips that he got to go on and be a part of, and all the things that he learned across the world, I think was really cool. I think all of the students that we've had on have had a lot of cool things to say, and all the students have had really cool projects that they've worked on. And so I think for the most part, there's not really one single one that I think is heads and shoulders above the rest as far as the guests themselves. But I guess if I had to pick a specific episode that I think was maybe the most exciting, I would maybe say Yaya's. So
I think also for me, I remember if I were to say in terms of all the episodes that we've made, which one sticks out to me the most would be Yaya's as well. And then in terms of the one where I really learned quite a bit, what pops up in my head is Michelle's episode.
Okay.
And hearing about her experiences, kind of opened my eyes a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I think this is going to be my.
This one.
Yeah.
All right. I like that.
All right. Our second question is, as you've been part of the different episodes and stuff, do you think there's a specific piece of advice that you gained from the people that we were interviewing that also resonated with you that you might think you want to share with everyone else watching?
I think most everybody usually made some sort of comment in line with, make sure you're taking advantage of the opportunities in front of you, and even the ones that maybe aren't right in front of you. Sometimes you have to explore a little bit to find those opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that's applicable to not only college students. I think it's applicable to everybody.
Yeah.
To never settle with where you're at. You can be content with where you're at and happy with where you're at. But I think there's always room to continue growing and continue to learn more about yourself and learn more about people around you, people across the world. And so I think I would say that's the advice that even though I heard it nearly every week that we recorded, it still resonated with me every time. I'm just don't just sit back, take advantage of things and step out of your comfort zone. And, I think back to, this is my third like professional job since college. And I think back to my second job. When I got it, it had a much bigger public speaking component than I ever realized when I was applying and interviewing. And I think back to my college days and how like terrified I was as a person for public speaking. But it was something I was thrust into, and it was out of my comfort zone. But now I feel like I am a strong public speaker, and I feel like I can get it. I mean, there's still times where I get nerves, and I struggle to speak in front of big crowds and stuff sometimes. But I think for the most part, like I'm a completely different person because of that, as far as my speaking skills go. And so, like, even though that was kind of forced upon me because I accepted that job and then found out, I think the same goes for any sort of opportunity that you find. Like, it even if it's outside of something you normally do or outside of your comfort zone, like, take advantage of it. And you never know, like, what kind of things you might learn about yourself or learn about, whatever the case may be. So
Yeah. That's some good advice.
yeah, sorry, I'm not making these very rapid.
No, yeah.
No, it's all right.
Because I was also going to ask you almost a similar question. Like, okay, now, what do you think is the best piece of advice that you have given in this studio? Yeah.
To like you guys?
To us or even the guest, I don't know.
I think in the studio, like, it's hard. I think like in the studio, I mean, like, I feel like when I think of like in the studio, I think more about like the specifics, kind of things that you should do as far as like speaking, and talking to each other. And, I feel like I try to reiterate to you guys, like, speak up, speak boldly, I guess, like, don't shy away from the mic just because it's like, I mean, it's stepping out of comfort zone a little bit. It's not just talking to your friend, in the lunchroom, like you're sitting around a table and we have cameras on, right? So it's a little bit different. And I guess like if I'm going to apply that to the real world, I think the same thing goes when it comes to, even if it's not a situation where you're being recorded, like you're going to have, times all through your career and all through your life that you're talking to people that maybe you're not as comfortable talking to. It's not your friend, it's not your family, but it's still important that you speak with clarity and you speak with honesty and you speak with realism and boldness, right? And so I think that that's a piece of advice that I try to give to you guys to make the podcast run well and successful and make it easier on us when we're editing and stuff. But I think it applies to life too. So
yeah, that's really great. Carlton, you should learn to speak up.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we can all take away and use to improve. So to finalize, we want to find out what's one word you would use to describe the future of the podcast?
Or the future of our talks. It can be also like a phrase.
Yeah.
If one word is a bit small.
The podcast specifically. Meaningful. I think ultimately, I think the hope is that it would be meaningful for the people that are listening and watching, but also meaningful for the people that are, for you guys or whoever may take your place in a year or two or however many years. I think the hope is that it would be meaningful for everyone involved and everyone watching and everyone involved with, putting it together. I think if it's not meaningful, then I don't really understand the point.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it's already been meaningful for you guys, and hopefully it only gets more meaningful and more important as kind of like I think the hope, like we were talking about earlier, is that it'd be kind of a capstone kind of thing for seniors on their way out the door of Earlham. And I think like for the most part, like I'd hope it'd be a kind of a meaningful kind of capstone to this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that would be the word that I would describe it as so far, but also, like, I think it'll only be even more so in the future.
Yeah. Tanaka, do you have one?
I would say explore. Yeah, I think it's self-explanatory. I just feel as if sometimes, be it to the team or the guest that we will be having, sometimes it's like, we usually tend to create like boxes in our minds, and we limit ourselves to the things that we are used to doing.
Yeah.
But then we have to also train ourselves to be vulnerable in a way and explore things that are outside our boundaries or our limits.
Yeah.
That's how you actually get to have new experiences, meet new people, and gain more opportunities.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think for me, really looking back, all the way from the beginning, I would say fun. Because I think out of all the jobs I've actually had, I think this is the one where I've had the least issues overall. Like here and there sometimes, maybe I'm having some disagreements with people or things get like really, really stressful. But here, even if, I'm like up really late trying to finish editing a podcast, I don't feel as, worried or stressed about it, So I would say that I've actually had a lot of fun trying. Like I started editing for the first time when I started working with you guys, and then also like being able to build relationships with you guys and everything. So that would be my word.
Meaningful, exploratory, and fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, so this is the end of this volume's Epic Stories podcast. I would like to give a shout out to the members of this podcast. So we have Carlton and I were the host, Kalen as our producer, and also Yasmin as the sound engineer of the podcast. Yeah, and also if you are wondering who's responsible for the cool intro sound, it's also Kalen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, as you know, you can catch us on our usual platforms, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram. So hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for listening.